Hey guys, second video today. I wanted to get on because I was talking with one of my group members this morning, and why is my hair sticking up? And they had suggested that I do a video on dental tourism. Okay, it's very popular. Particularly these days, and a lot of it has to do with implants. Why? Because it's a lot cheaper. I touched base on it in my last video and told you guys that there's a couple people in my group that have done that and have had trouble, okay? One person in particular is, I'm not going to mention their name or where they went or anything like that, but they said I could use some pictures. So I kind of want to show you what happened to this person. And before I start, I want to let you know that I am not discouraging anyone from doing this, okay? I just want to give you a little information. Yes, I just want to give you a little more information on this, because I know people that have done it, and I've said this before, and they've had no trouble at all, okay? The main thing is to make sure you do research. Make sure you do research, because there are places that you can go to that do use FDA-approved materials and that have dentists that have been trained in the U.S. Also, I've got a couple websites that I'm going to post for you guys that I found when I was doing some research this morning. One of those is client reviews, okay? I'll post a link for that. This is for people that have gone out of the country for dental work. Another one is, it's a website. Hang on, because I want to read what I wrote down. Okay, it's a website that gives the names of different clinics. They only admit clinics that have passed a stringent vetting process, including U.S. board certification and patient referrals. So this is a good website for you to use when doing research if you are really thinking about doing this. Okay, but I did a little bit of research this morning because I was kind of wondering why is it that the cost is, why is it cheaper to go out of the country, out of the United States, you know? Well, our healthcare and dental work is very expensive. But some of the reasons, one is because of the currency exchange, which that's kind of common sense, but a lot of people don't think about that. And forgive me, but I'm going to look down because I'm reading off of something. Okay, currency exchange advantages, less local professional restrictions, and fewer barriers to becoming a dentist. Also, it says materials such as non-precious gold can certainly make a crown cheaper. And it also says, here's the kicker, it may be cheaper because a completely different procedure is being performed. So you just have to really be careful. Okay, I spoke about the standard of care in my last video. You know, for the U.S. and some other countries, it takes a lot, it's a lot harder to get a dental license than it is in other countries, okay? So, with that being said, that drives the cost down in some of these other countries. Also, when we're talking about standard of care, let me read you this. It says the standard of care is determined by the standard that would be exercised by the reasonably prudent professional in that line of work. This is called the standard of care, and it can vary from country to country. You want your work done in a country that is equal to or exceeds the standard of care that you are used to. And it says we certainly take for granted the standard of living and care in this country. One thing that really spoke to me when talking about standard of care, is talking about the water quality in other countries, okay? It says here, consider simple things like the water that is being used in Mexico. This water will be used to irrigate an open wound after an extraction or implant site. It goes without saying that the standard of water quality in Mexico is not as high as it is in the U.S. Some dental clinics can filter the water, and I highly recommend you check with the dental clinic to make sure they are using water filtration procedures, or see what their water filtration procedures are like. This comes from a website called Ask the Dentist. I will also put this in the description. This is a blog, and the dentist's name that is Dr. Burhane, Burhenne. He also talks about knowing the surroundings and what is around the clinic that you would go to. Make sure you know where the closest hospital is in case an emergency were to happen. He also talks about you want to ask questions and find out exactly what type of materials are they using. Are the materials that they are using, are they FDA approved? Okay, this dentist says, I have seen and treated dental work from all over the world. I've removed Rexillium dental bridges in patients' mouths that become red hot and produce toxic metallic dust. I've removed teeth that were slowly killing the surrounding bone due to a toxic root canal filling material. And I've actually measured radioactivity in metal taken out of the mouth. Okay, I'm not going to bore you and continue to read, but here's some questions that you need to make sure you ask. Who's the professional doing the work? Where were they trained? What is the standard of care for the doctor? What is the standard of care in the country? What metals will be used in the dental work, and are they toxic? Does the country have a nationalized dental service, which is run and funded by the government? And if something goes wrong, are you willing and able to go back to see your dentist in that foreign country? I have talked about that several times. You have to understand, some of you do, some of you don't, that you may be able to go and have whatever procedure you're going to have done in 1, 2, or 3 days and then come back home. But you have to be prepared to make the trip back, and possibly 2 or 3 trips. If you are going to go the snap-in denture route, you will lose your gums will shrink and you will lose bone in any area there are not implants, okay? You are going to need an adjustment. It's happened to me. I need a hard reline right now and I don't have the money for it. But I've shrunk so much, especially in the back on this side. Now, over here on top, the gum was shrunk pretty good when I had the remaining extractions. But see, I still had some of my back teeth over here last year. So they took those out June of 2017. Well, by this time, my gums back there have shrunk. So this side over here is what's causing me the rocking and the trouble. Okay, so we talked about these websites. I told you I was going to post those in the description. The patient reviews, the link for the dental clinics that are recommended by, it's called patientsbeyondborders.com. And then I will also put the link to the article on dental tourism from askthedoctor.com. Now, I want to discuss what happened with one of the people in my group that went abroad for implant surgery, okay? Just to kind of give you an idea of what can happen. And this person knew that it was going to take 2 or 3 trips to finish. They had already planned for that, but I'm going to insert some pictures in here if I'm able to figure it out. I've not done that before. One thing that happened, I guess, when they did the person's remaining extractions is, and this person had no idea until they got their x-rays. The clinic that took care of them left a tooth in the back. You can see it on the x-ray. It's a wisdom tooth, and it's kind of in sideways. I'm sure they had their reasons for doing that, but to not tell this person that they were leaving a tooth, he had no clue until he saw the x-ray, okay? The second thing, I think they did pretty good after the extractions and implants and then the temporary denture when they come home. I think they were doing pretty well. The problems didn't start happening until they went back for the second visit. And this visit was for them to get their snap-in denture, okay? So they went in and they snapped, or they made the dentures and snapped them in, okay? When they pulled, first of all, sorry, let me backtrack. They had 4 mini implants put on top and 4 on the bottom. When they went back the second time, they had found out that one of those implants had failed, okay? So that left them with 3 good ones on top and 4 on bottom, okay? So they snapped their plates in. When this practice or clinic took the top plate out, the O-rings that are down in the denture, like that you see on my denture, hang on. I want to show you guys. These things here, okay? That's what the implants snap into. They put it in, and when they pulled it back out, those O-rings had come out of the denture and they stayed attached to the implants. 2 of them did. Only one of the O-rings stayed down in the denture, if that makes sense, okay? So that was number 1, or that was number 2. Number 1 was leaving that wisdom tooth. Number 2 was that. Number 3, putting the bottom denture in. They put it in and went to remove it and couldn't get it out. He said that they struggled and struggled and struggled and tugged, and they hurt him. And it got to a point where he had to go. He was in the dental chair for I don't know how long. He was due to catch a flight to go back home, and they were wanting him to stay so they could saw it out, and he couldn't. And by that time, he was fit to be tied, and he didn't want them touching his mouth, and I don't blame him. So, is this to scare you? No, it's not. But the reality of it is, man, and this person had done research, unfortunately, and this still happened. But if you look at the snap-in denture that they made for him, it looks like the person that made it had no training whatsoever. I don't know. I feel terrible, you know, and I'm hoping and praying that they are going to be able to get their money back. That is what they are trying to do now, so they can get all this stuff fixed. So I just want to kind of open your eyes. I'm not going to go into the other story for the other person because I haven't spoke to them, and I don't know if they would be comfortable with me sharing. So I just don't want to go into that. If at some point they are comfortable with me sharing, then I will share to you what happened with them. And like I said again, I know Ed, Tucson Guy, just he may still be in Mexico for his second trip, which he was going to get all his teeth extracted and get all on 6 procedure and all on 4 and zirconia bridges, and he ended up saving his teeth and having some other procedures done. Now Ed lives in Tucson and went to Los Algodones, he went to Mexico right across the border from Tucson, let's say that. The clinic he went to, I did find that on that website that I was telling you about, and that is one of the clinics that uses FDA approved materials, and they have US board certification. So that was, gosh guys, I can't. He always, I guess he has said the name of the Mexican town and I can't remember, but so I believe Ed's in good hands. Can things still happen? Yes, but things could happen over here with the U.S. trained dentist too. So, but you just have to, like I said, you've got to do research and just really weigh your options out here. You know, the procedure or what you're going to have done, the initial procedure or the initial cost may be cheaper, but if you end up having to return for several trips to have adjustments done, that flight, hotel, and food cost adds up. So sit and write it down on paper. Write down the pros and cons. If you're really thinking about this, the pros and cons of staying in the U.S. and the cost, and then versus the cost of traveling outside of the country. And make sure you add in there additional trips in case you were to have to go back. Okay, what you're about to see are several pictures of the final permanent denture, a snap-in denture from the person that went outside of their country to one of the dental tourism clinics and has had trouble. So there's several pictures that I have imported in here. So okay, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys again, do your research, look through these websites, you know, weigh your options, weigh your pros and cons, sit down and write it all out on paper. So I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I know this is my second video today, but I wanted to get a video up because so many people have questions about going out of the country, you know, and I just want to kind of give you guys a little more information. So you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I will be seeing you soon.